Planning a convention can be very frustrating. Part of this chaos is due to handling people in lines while verifying their credentials at entry points. We have a solution for this. We have a solution to make it automated and authenticated with something people always have with them, their smartphone. One industry that has a huge problem with authentication and automatic is the continuing education industry, or CE industry. This is where we got our name, CE Now. There are over 25 million licensing professionals, such as engineers, architects, nurses, doctors, and psychologists, who are required by their licensing bodies to attend so many classes to stay up with their current technology, technique, and education in their field of study. However, this process is extremely time-consuming. They attend conventions that use pen and paper to sign in. It's not automated, and there's no authentication. We have a solution. Picture this. Think of your doctor. What if he did not have the right technology or skills because he had his friend Rob sign in for him? More to talk about our solution is Yashasvi.
Thank you so much, Kaylin. So near-field communications, or NFC, really stood out to us as a very simple but effective solution to our problem. Near-field communication uses data transfer using radio frequencies at distances of less than 10 centimeters, which means the person has to be present there. Our app is designed to be user-friendly, it saves money for event organizers, and most importantly, it's secure and authentic using our double authentication system. Also, it's practically executable and solves a real need. Let me just give you a quick run through the app that we're designing if I was to attend a continuing education conference tomorrow. The run through is very simple. I open my app, I go to the registration page, and I fill in my details. As soon as I fill in my license ID of my association, it just pulls in my photograph from there, which serves as the second part of our unique double authentication. As soon as I register, the conference that I have to attend tomorrow gets added to my calendar right away. I get a map both to the conference and within the conference, because we know that locating the right room in these huge convention centers can be a pain sometimes. The sign-in process is really simple. It's just this. I go to the NFC device and I tap it. That's it. I'm signed in. The double authentication is my photograph right there. The survey is something that event organizers can develop on our web application, and this gets pushed to my smartphone. Completion of this signals successful completion of my CE credits, which I also receive in an email on my phone. The CE tracker also helps me track how many CE credits I have completed and how many I need to keep my license. Let me just talk to you a little bit about the timeline now of our app. We intend to complete design by May. That means wireframing as well as prototyping. June, July, and August, we intend to devote to database design, web and app development, and most importantly, hardware and software interfacing. September, we intend to test our product, and in October and November, we actually plan to launch our product with 2 clients we already have relationships with, the Texas Psychological Association and the California Psychological Association. Here's Elizabeth now to talk to you a little bit more about the market.
Thank you, Yash. Currently, there are no competitors in our market. Now, there are certain companies that contain elements that our app possesses, as you can see in this chart. But no other company has scheduling, mapping, or our most important attribute, authentication. CE Now utilizes near-field communication in order to solidify this verification process. The innovation in our product lies in its ability to bring all of these attributes together in one convenient, easy-to-use app. The buyers of our pilot product would be the healthcare convention planners, who are responsible for taking the attendance of all registered participants, handing out event information, and guaranteeing an overall smooth process. Now, these conferences take place nationwide. Therefore, physicians, medical administrators, clinical technicians, and the list goes on. As Yash has previously mentioned, we've already made connections with the Texas Psychological Association as well as the California Psychological Association, both of which are very interested in using our pilot product later this year. Now, the users of our product would be all licensed healthcare professionals, which we've estimated to be approximately 2.6 million. Now Saranya will talk to you about our financials.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So our pricing strategy has been built with one thing in mind: the value that we're creating for our clients. Currently, our clients, the convention planners, are spending over $15,000 in order to plan each conference. But with our pricing model, it would mean a varying fee of $5 per participant plus a fixed fee of $2,000, which is $4,500 for the same size. And that, in the long term, could mean 75% reduction in their costs. Let me tell you a little bit about our forecasted earnings. This is our after-tax forecasted earnings. The first year, however, I've taken as just a test year, where we talk about mostly the major costs that are involved. And they would be the equipment costs, as well as web development, app development, and tech maintenance. As you can see, at the end of 2017, we break even and attain exponential growth thereafter and gaining $200,000 in earnings by the end of 2020. So the break-even pretty much means that we'll be servicing nearly 10,000 participants over 21 conventions. As with the costs mentioned above, we are requesting a funding of around $66,000 for the first year, and that would include the equipment costs and the operational costs that would be necessary in order to facilitate the first year. The additional funding required for 2 and 3 would be facilitated by the management team itself. And it's not just about break-even. It's about creating returns for the investors. That means we have predicted and forecasted less than 4 years in payback period for all external funding, and nearly forecasted over 300% in return on investment at the end of 2020. But it's not just one CE conference. It's not just the continuing education market. It's every music concert that you've been to, every sporting event that you've been to, where you've seen congestion and lines of people. That kind of chaos can be minimized because our product is very scalable to any manual sign-up processes. And that could be over several conferences. And the kind of conferences that we can scale to is over 200 million users in America annually. That directly translates to, if we were to implement, even with the conservative adoption of our technology, nearly $30 million in revenue at the end of 2020.
So now to talk about our team. Saranya will be in charge of the financial operations, I will be in charge of business development, Elizabeth will be our marketing, and Yashasvi will be in charge of our technology. But not only do we have a team, we have advisors. Dr. Baskarin is a consultant and has over 9 years of new product design and development, as well as David White, who has over 25 years in association management. So please join us in this revolutionary idea with groundbreaking technology to solve an age-old problem. So you don't have to wait anymore. We have something waiting for you.
One of the challenges I see for you is getting the readers out there. So everybody's going to have NFC on their phone, right? Apple implemented it. But how are you going to solve the problem of getting those NFC readers to the convention users? And then the cost of that. Are you going to lease them, or how do you handle that?
I'll let our technology.
Thank you. So ideally, what we're really looking at is making that initial investment in NFC readers. I think your question had 2 parts. One, that NFC isn't still a mature technology. That's why we actually targeted it, because Apple recently implemented NFC in it. We only see it growing from here on in. Android phones have had NFC for a long time now, but Apple has implemented it now. Microsoft has implemented it as well. So that's one of the things. We see NFC to be growing. The second part of your question was how we would handle our investment in NFC readers. We would make the initial investment, but then we have an operational plan that allows us to reuse NFC readers between conventions and events that we will actually be serving. So the idea behind it is that we need to be efficient from an operational standpoint to the point that where we can optimize the use of the NFC readers and the number that we actually need to invest in, which is the same for any organization in the world. They need to be very efficient from an operational standpoint. So we will, to answer your question in short, we will make an initial investment in NFC readers, and we will scale that up as our operational demands to meet those. Thank you.
What percentage of the phones out there today have NFC chips?
So if you don't keep in mind the older iPhones, I would.
No, we got to keep those in mind.
If we've got to keep
the phones that are out there, what percentage of NFC?
So I think we did some research on this, and we estimated that among Android phones alone, around 90% had NFC. Among the iPhones, all coming iPhones will have NFC, including the 6 and the 6 Plus. The older devices don't. But then that is why we're looking to grow towards the end of this year. Towards the end of this year, Apple will probably launch another iPhone, which will also obviously have NFC. So we are really looking to grow with the NFC market. If we're talking about current numbers, then I would approximate it around 70% of smartphones having NFC technology. But this is, again, purely because there are more number of Android handsets in the market than iPhones. But then, let
me ask you a second question. Mm-hmm. What percentage of phones do CE registered users use? Are they US based? Mm-hmm. And is it likely that they're majority Apple?
So they are majority Apple.
Let's move on from there. So how do you register for CE classes today?
So I think Kaylin would be able to answer that question better. How do you register for CE classes?
So to register for a CE class, you have like an industry, such as the Texas Psychological Association, and you go to their convention, and they have seminars and speakers. And so from there, they have a list of speakers and classes that you attend. And so from that, you have, it's called CE units and credits.
Correct. Don't you have to register for those prior to going?
I'm sorry?
Don't you have to register for them prior to going?
Yes.
So they know who you are?
Yes.
Time for one more question.
How are you going to stay ahead of the competitors? You know, what are you going to do that gets there and keeps you out there before everyone else?
Barriers to entry. I'll let Saranya take this question.
The main motivation behind that is we have to understand the kind of client relationships that we've already created and kind of keep them in the long term. Because if we target specifically the associations which are currently, doing the healthcare CE market conferences, then we can create long-term relationships with them while having long-term contracts with them, just like the relationships we've already created with the TPA and the CPA Association. That's.
Thank you.